Okay, I wanted to catch some of this sort of behind the scenes part of making my felt ornaments. I haven't made one yet, but what I did, I'm going to show this to you. I went and on Pinterest, and I chose a bunch of little felt ornaments that I thought were cute. All different styles, a lot of animals. I've got, look at these darling dogs. I've got mermaids, and, you know, it's kind of funny. A lot of these things I chose because they reminded me of you guys. You know, like special animals you're into. I chose a lot of cats because my friend Gracie loves cats. I found this darling little hummingbird because my friend Clara loves hummingbirds. I also found these sloths because Abigail loves sloths. So anyway, I mean, I was thinking about you guys as I was choosing a lot of these. So the first one I'm going to try is a very simple shape, and it is this. Whoa, I just dropped my phone. Hang on, you guys.
Do I need to go get it?
Could you, honey? Grant's going to come get my phone. I have been so, what's the word? Fumbly lately. I'm constantly dropping stuff, and it's beginning to scare me. Can you see it over there, baby?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to cut all this out, but you know me, I might leave it in just because. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, thank you, darling. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to the one that I was doing. Okay, so it's this little owl. That's a really simple shape, easy for me to kind of, you know, draw its little silhouettes to make up my own pattern. I like to change things as I go, so I'm not sure how much different this owl is going to be from this one. But I wanted you to see this part because I wanted you to see how my mind was working on this. Was that a... Oh.
What fell?
The cats knocked something over. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to cut out the main big shape, okay? Then I'll make a tracing of that. Then I'll cut out the this section here, which goes behind the eyes. I'll cut out the eyes. Then I'll cut out this middle section here. So I'll have separate pattern pieces for each one of the pieces of felt that I'm going to overlay. So that's how I'm kind of working on coming up with these patterns. Some of these projects offer patterns that you can buy or that you can download for free. I think what I'm going to do is, if they're not something that if it's just somebody's picture, I'm going to go ahead and credit them for the idea. So at least I'll be able to credit somebody for the idea because obviously I didn't come up with it by myself. So anyhow, that is how I'm going to handle putting this project together. So here we go. Let's get into it. Okay, so I have my pieces cut out for this owl, the front and the back, you know, this little belly piece and all that. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach the eyes to this face piece with just a little bit of hot glue. Then I'm going to do some decorative stitching around the eyes to stitch them to the face. Then what I will do is I will take this entire face piece, I will glue it down to the body, and then do the decorative stitching around there. I think I'll put these eyes real close together so they're kind of googly eye looking like that. Give them a little crazy look. And then, so that will all be attached to the front. Then this thing again, I'll attach it with a little hot glue, then I'll go ahead and I'll do I will do a decorative stitch, but I'm only going to do it around here. I'm not going to do the perimeter, because the way I've decided to assemble these is I'll get the front side all, you know, stitched and glued down, and then I'm going to take and cut a piece of thin fiberfill to go in the center of here, which I will just tack glue to the back. That fiberfill will only come to within, let's say, 1/8 of an inch or so of the edge all the way around. Then I will put this on top of that, tack glue the top to the fiberfill. I mean, by that I mean just a couple little dabs of hot glue, not a whole bunch, just enough to hold it all together. Then I'm going to do a blanket stitch around the outside to stitch this piece to the bottom piece, and then I'll be done. And then any, like if I'm going to add sequins or anything like that, I'll do that last. Let's say if I had decided I wanted to embroider, I don't know, let's say a flower on this, I would have done all the embroidery before I even glued this down. Or if I wanted to embroider something special on the eyes, the embroidery comes first, then you glue the pieces together and you do your perimeter sewing. So that's how I'm going to put this guy together. And let's see what happens. Well, I went out into my craft room to try to find my embroidery floss, and that place is so jam-packed I couldn't get even to the back where I saw it the last time. But I did find this bag of felt. This had belonged to my grandmother, so I'm going to add that to the felt. And then I found this. These yarns that you see right here, I made these yarns. I made them from fleece from my alpacas, and I dyed them and I spun them into yarn, and I made some really cool projects, including lots of hats and some of these neat beads that are wrapped with the yarn. Neat stuff. Anyway, oh, I love these beads. These are some of my favorites I ever, look at my filthy hand. Some of my favorites I've ever done. This is a dangle bead. So I wrapped it, well, I wrapped it in the yarn, and then, I'm shaky, and then did this wire, copper, and beads. I just love boho crap like this. Anyhow, so I was thinking I might, since I can't do any embroidery, what I can do is with embroidery floss, what I can do is use some of these yarns and make flowers or something to embellish this guy's little tummy. He needs some sort of embellishment. So I'm going to come up with something using this, and I'll come back and show you guys what I did. Just real quick. This proves that this is handmade. Look at that. There's a little seed pod that somehow managed to stay in my yarn even after I carded it and spun it and did every other damn thing with it. It still manages to keep little pieces of pasture. I think I'm going to use some of this pink yarn to do some flowers, so I'll come back and show you. Alright, this is where we are with his little belly. I went ahead and used some of this pink, and all I did was I just tack glued it. I started in the center, I made a little loop and then tack glued that down, made another loop and tacked. So I only tacked in the center, and I cut off my thread, my pink yarn. Then I found some of this gold lame thread that I've had since the 1980s, and because I couldn't find my embroidery floss, I figured I would use that to sew this down and to do my blanket stitch and other decorative stitches. This is just a little tiny piece of this fuzzy chenille, just wrapped into a circle and just glued right to the center. And then the leaves, I made the leaves of chenille as well. I just tack glued them down. And then I sewed them the same way I sewed the little flower down. So that is his, probably his only decoration. This one has a kind of a subdued color scheme. Nothing jumps out at you, so I thought just that would be enough. So now we're going to move on to the eyes. All right, this is the front of the owl completed. Let's see, are we getting, oh shoot, I got to put my glasses on. I don't know if we're in frame. Okay, here we go. So what I did, I used a running stitch to attach the white part of the eyeball to the face. Then I glued the pupils, I guess those would be, just glued them. And then I did a little bit of like a daisy stitch around them just to kind of finish them off a little bit so that the fuzz wasn't showing. I put in a couple little glints for the eyes. And then I did a blanket stitch to attach the face. So that whole unit was, I glued it down and then did the blanket stitch to put the whole unit on there. Now, and I did the eyes, you can see that's a silver instead of the gold. So I went down here and I did a silver blanket stitch in the reverse direction of the one that the gold one. So it gave it a nice little finish. So there we are, he's done. Now, I had all of this fiber fill. It's really, really thick. So I split it and, you know, cut a little piece out that would fit there. That got tacked on with a little bit of hot glue. Now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to tack this down. Now when I tack it down, I'm not going to put any glue on this thin piece here because you'll see it. I'm going to put some glue behind the face and then behind the stomach part because you won't see the glue where it pulls or sticks. So it'll give it a nicer finish. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to put this down here. I'm going to glue it down. Then I'm going to run a blanket stitch around the outside and our little owl will be done. Okay, so here's the finished product. I stuffed it with a half width of that stuff. I should have put in the double. I mean, I should have put in the actual width because this is a little bit flimsy. I use gold blanket stitch around the edges, silver down there at the bottom. Yeah, okay. It's an owl. I don't like it. I don't like the dull colors. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have any glitter or any beads or any sequins or all of that because I'm all about being over the top with all those things. But as sort of a first effort to kind of work out how I want to make my patterns and some of the stitches I might use, I wouldn't use this metallic thread again. It is very hard to work with. And you can see it was real tough to get the stitches even. So I would go back and use a regular embroidery floss. So anyway, there it is, first one, and the next one I make is going to probably be over the top with beads, and it'll be just all tarted up like a $3 whore. So anyway, I am looking forward to using my felt. It's going to be fun, and using all my glittery stuff. So the owl and I will bid you good night. Woo, woo.